575 plus writers has taken part in the festival, and 102 languages representatives and 13 countries plus India, or 14 countries plus India. So as per our records, what we have checked, nowhere in the world gathered together 102 languages at least. If you find out the previous records. Of course, there is a English literature festival, the Edinburgh Festival, 800 writers they have taken part, but not so many languages. So now we are claiming only Asia's biggest. So we are, in near future we will say world's biggest festival. So that is the thing. We just finished day before yesterday when I came back. Anyway, the topic that my friend Sumit has given to me is I have to speak only on learning through storytelling. So it is also a kind of learning. Our friends, all of us learn. All of us tell and listen to stories. I am talking about adults and not merely children in the school or college environment. This process of learning and telling, listening to stories goes throughout our lives. In fact, the human life in societies can be viewed as a constant storytelling and listening, or to put in another way, we sell our stories and buy other people's stories. Whether it is between spouses, or between parents and children, or in the education institution, or in workplace, or in the marketplace, it is a process of selling what we want and buying what others are trying to convey. Some people may subscribe to this way of understanding, and some others may think this perspective as too simplistic and too reductionistic. But then they will have some other story for the rest of us to process and understand. Viewed on a much larger scale or micro scale, depending on from which angle one view it, the change, interchange, and exchange among atoms to multiverses can also be seen as exchange of stories. If I remember correctly, it is Swami Vivekananda who once wrote that constant heating and changing among atoms is nothing but manifestation of love at the most fundamental level, and atoms learning to exchange messages. It all may be romantic or idealistic to view storytelling and learning in this manner of universal perception, but all these things that I just mentioned can be applied at a very mundane level to specific paradigms. Learning in the conventional education system, in the modern sense of traditional Gurukula system, has a lot to do with stories. Instructor or guru or a teacher tells stories for a variety of reasons: to pique the curiosity of the learner, to ignite creative process in the student, to prepare the foundation in which the theory or hypothesis or philosophy that needs to be conveyed can be placed for the learners to understand them with ease within the classroom atmosphere. When a theory or a philosophy is conveyed in the form of a story, learners tend to learn faster because more often than not, they tend to identify with one or more elements of the story that can relate more easily with the related components to learning a particular lesson. This is applicable to all the streams of education, without exception. One may wonder how this process of identification is relevant in the context of learning a specific theory or skill or philosophy. Feeling part of the story or identification with one or more elements leads to faster learning because all learning is personal. That is the key in all learning, in classroom or in life in general. Since all learning is personal, it is imperative to lure the student or distract the learner from any potential conflicts or distractions that lie outside the purview of the classroom through stories. More often than not, classroom teaching in schools or universities is restricted to sharing or teaching a series of facts because there is a room in Western education system. It is a norm because such series of facts shared can be independently verifiable and through the inductive logic can be weighted and calibrated to the hypothesis, be it a scientific or social hypothesis. Unfortunately, all the human beings tend to render the stories without fail, while only portion of them are good at remembering, retrieving, and applying series of facts. That is the primary reason. I mean, not sharing stories, but only a series of facts for the perception that education system is not fair to all. Also, there is no sure short ways in which all the series of isolated facts can be strewn together to make a meaningful world for the students. But on the other hand, even without the aid of the instructor or teacher or guru, students tend to stitch the stories presented or shared together and make a meaningful world for themselves and find learning within that much easier than through putting together isolated facts. On a closer scrutiny, one can find that learning through stories empowers students, learners. I mentioned identification. Living through a simulated experiences ignites students to work through not only pros and cons, but possibilities and impossibilities, and also forms the philosophical inquiry mindset in the learners as they start exploring, looking for the causes or absence of causes. In the process, the teachers provide the feeling of an agency and students feel a sense of accomplishment even as they go through the process of learning.
In the inaugural session of PubliCon 2023. In fact, I'm grateful that today we are agitating, we are discussing, exploring, acknowledging the role of publishers in learning, research, and innovation. As we publishers, we research, we curate, we publish, and I urge the readers, the consumers, to not just read, but also understand what they're reading, and most importantly, question what they're reading, because that will again give birth to further research and innovation. I want to thank Dr. K. Srinivasa for spending so much time with us here today, enlightening us with this vision on how storytelling can lead to learning. I also want to congratulate him for the biggest literature festival, as I came to know, which was done by Secretary Academy. My best take, there are a lot of takes from this speech, but what I take home is, for faster learning, the best way is storytelling. Stories take us to a different world, illusions, sometimes lies, sometimes truths. But under all those illusions lie the truth of life. That's what we readers need to understand from each story. I also want to thank Mr. Neeraj Jain, Chair, Fiki Publishing, his wonderful mentorship. A lot of interesting facets came across through that address. In fact, yes, we all are doing our bit for promoting reading as a culture. He said read aloud. To my mind, I did not read aloud too much. I accept that. But I thank my stars, they are ferocious readers And I'm so proud of them. Their vision, their thought process. I see the children who read, the people who read, their mental capacity, way of analyzing life and things is at a different level. I want to also apologize. Everybody talked about traffic. I thought I was running late. But thankfully, from my home till here, there was no traffic and I could reach on time. I was just praying that the session should start a bit late in case I get late. I think I manifested this traffic. So I'm sorry for that.
And learning are mixed together. The results are exotic, purposeful, and highly humane. Such a system can never produce machine-like learners, but only highly skillful and objective learners who are as efficient as machines, but also people with lovely hearts. When the education model can achieve that by implementing learning through storytelling in a formal education system, then one can be sure that society with such an efficient system is bound to progress without any interruption and without fail. That is not a utopia, not an imaginary tale, but practically verifiable, demonstrable, and completely working system and society that will function with the efficiency and ruthlessness of the machines, but with the hearts of the angels and gods. The system which churns out such a cycle of events can only be called as system of VLC, the systems of virtuous learning cycle. When accomplished, there is no limit to the sky.